In March 2016, we hosted our 7th European Bank Restructuring Conference, attended by over 650 market participants. The conference explored the investment opportunities opened up by the restructuring taking place in the European banking industry and how sellers, investors and servicing companies can capitalise on them. I'm here today with Colin Brereton and Mike McGee, two of my fellow panel hosts from the day, to pick up on the key themes discussed during the conference. Colin, perhaps if I can turn to you first. You ran the first session, provocatively entitled, "Are Banks Viable?" So what were the key themes coming out of that?
Yes, Richard, there were four key themes. The first being that the majority of banks are not generating positive returns, positive economic returns. So therefore, they're destroying value really on a day-to-day basis. The second is that most of them are dealing with very large non-core asset portfolios, which are soaking up large amounts of capital and inhibiting their performance. And the third being really that nowadays banks are not meeting the needs of customers, and they're certainly ignoring the wants of customers, which have changed fairly significantly as a result of generational changes and changes in behaviour. And finally, there's been an explosion of new technologies in the market, which has really done quite a lot to lower the barriers to entry and increase competition.
So given that backdrop, where did you see the industry going?
Well, it was obviously a lively debate, but it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, at the end of the day, the banks have got very powerful brands, and notwithstanding the fact that the luster's come off some of those, they're still more trusted than many other organisations. Second, they've got huge financial resources in order to be able to invest in new technologies and new business practices. And the good news is that many of them are starting to reorganise. They're starting to enter into new alliances, change their sort of business structures and their organisations. So they are able to deal with the challenges. It's a question of getting on and doing something about it.
And a huge agenda that I think we concluded. We took that debate then slightly further on in the second session when we said, well, given this agenda, what does the future shape of European banking look like? And Mike, your session was a lively debate. I remember, what were the key themes coming out of yours?
It was a lively debate, an awful lot of energy, because I think that's the reality at the moment. There are a few sort of hard and fast answers to this. If you look at the established banks, the incumbents, and then the fintech stroke challengers, I don't think there's an obvious solution at the moment. But what I would say is it's more likely to be an ecosystem where there is some coexistence between the establishment and the fintechs. I think that the days of the universal banking model are very, very limited, and certainly what was clear is that the established banks need to be very focused on what their proposition is to the customer. What do they do really, really well? What's their comparative advantage? And increasingly using and drawing on fintechs actually as the solution to their heavy cost bases, to be very responsive to customer needs, to lower their costs, and to embrace that technology that may well have been developed by fintechs that would have been harder for the established banks to develop organically. So I think it's potentially quite an exciting future, but I think it will be one where the winners look very, very different from the organisations of today.
Now, you provocatively put the incumbents on one side of the stage, the challengers, the fintechs on the other side. Who won?
Well, yeah, I probably would come down somewhere in the middle.
You can't do that. Who won?
Well, I would say that certainly our global head of banking started to edge more towards the fintechs. But my money personally would be with the established banks.
Yeah.
If they can get the recipe right, if they can really work with the new technology and embrace that, that's certainly, I think, a great place to be. But what I would warn is that few organisations are taking enough change on board at the moment. I think the pace of change needs to be a lot faster.
Absolutely. So clearly an awful lot for banks to do.
Absolutely.
And if you look at that, huge agenda banks have to face up to. If you'd like any further information on what we discussed at our conference, please do download the report from our website or get in touch with either of us if you'd like to talk to us about the issues further. Thank you very much for listening.